Hello, and welcome back to the Electrified Marina Podcast. I'm your host and producer, Brooks Lawson.
And Erick Pinzon from Electrified Marina.
Today is Sunday, April 6th, and this show is brought to you by us at Electrified Marina and electrifiedmarina.com. Please check out our website and call or email us if you decide you have an interest in buying a new boat or repowering an old one. Please post any questions or comments in the comment section on YouTube. Today we have our second guest, or guests, I should say, and that's Captain Blair and Allison Guilliom. They are the owners of Sycorax Electric Cruises. And Erick's going to talk real quickly about the Bay Bridge Boat Show.
Yeah, just really quick, we got some upcoming boat shows. We've got Bay Bridge or the Spring Annapolis show here this upcoming weekend. And then 2 weeks after that, we'll be in Kilmarnock or Irvington for the Northern Neck Boat Show. And then that'll bring us to the first week of May, and that'll be the Washington, D.C. Boat Show at National Harbor. So we'll be doing quite a bit of events here in the next month or so. It's going to be pretty hectic, but exciting at the same time.
Excellent. Well, Anthony and Allison, tell us about yourself. Tell us about Sycorax Cruises. How did it get started? Where are you guys from? All that kind of fun history.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you both for having us on the show. We're delighted to talk shop about electric boats. It's one of our favorite topics. So we bought our first joint boat about a year. It was right around a year ago, and we went to the Detroit Boat Show, and we had in mind to get an electric boat. The reason being, we purchased an island down in Belize, and this island property is in a protected marine reserve. So we really wanted to, take care of the waters and, look out for the marine life and this really delicate ecosystem. Belize is home to the second largest barrier reef in the world. So it's this really incredibly precious treasure. And we just didn't feel good about dumping toxins into the water. We just went to the boat show without really having done any research on electric boats. Wandered around and stumbled upon a marina that was exhibiting two X shores, and it was love at first sight. So we saw it, had to have it. It was a lot more money than we had planned on spending on a boat. So the deal was, if we sprung for the X shore, we were going to monetize it by doing a charter cruise business. So we got up and running, I would say by late July. We were a baby company. We really just started up, but we are just having so much fun doing it, and we really love what we do.
And how long have you been operating Sycorax Cruises?
I think we got all of our DNR approvals and everything situated and ready to go by the end of July of last year. So we've just barely begun. We have a couple of months of full business here in Detroit where we operate. The boating season is over by the end of October, basically.
Can you tell us about your island?
Yeah. This big hairy dream, Captain Blair. When he was a teenager, he watched this movie. It was a movie adaptation of William Shakespeare's play The Tempest, and it had Molly Ringwald and Susan Sarandon. And he watched this movie, and as he walked out of the movie theater, he said to himself, "Someday I'm going to own my own island." That was his takeaway from the movie, I guess. And so it's been,
Which goes to show you that I don't pick up a lot when I go to movies.
so yeah, it's been this long simmering dream of his. So for decades, he was like, whenever he was on vacation in Fiji or someplace, he'd just kind of look around to see if there was an island he could afford. And we found this little bit of land in Belize about 3 years ago, and it's just a mangrove swamp. Nothing special right now, but it'll be a cute home someday.
So it's
Way
a
cool.
it's a crack house version of an island. It's you you wouldn't you really honestly you wouldn't want to spend an hour or two on it, let alone your life. But it needs it. We'll give it some love. We'll give it some love.
What's the timeline for that look like? I mean, you're going to be completely off grid. Like, it's not like there's a Home Depot nearby. I mean, is like all of that planning in the works? I can't imagine the logistics headache that's going to bring on.
Yeah, your guess is probably as good as ours, to be honest. It's been quite a wild ride. I won't get into the details because it's pretty gory. We bought the island 3 years ago, and there's just been this
We're in the
bureaucratic morass.
permitting process.
Yeah.
We're still in the permitting.
Since the island is in a protected marine reserve, the government has a lot of say in what you do and how you do it. So,
Yeah.
we're gonna follow all the rules. We want to respect all the rules and respect the environment. I think everything's going to be really complicated. It could take, I'm guessing, 2 years to build a house
I think
once
that's
we get all the environmental approvals and the permits in place. Yeah.
pretty
Nice.
realistic.
So we'll come visit in like 2028 and shoot another podcast
Yeah,
there.
right? We got a dead date for you.
Oh,
Count on it.
mark my calendar.
Right.
Count on it.
So your cruise, where does it start from and where does it go and how far do you go?
So we are operating out of a marina called Stanton Yards. It's been around in Detroit for quite a while. I think they started back in the early 20th century.
Yeah. So Stand Yards, what they originally, way back before they were Stand Yards, they produced Navy ships. And so the warehouse that we're in has a funnel through the middle of it. And they build the boat and then they just kind of roll it on logs out to the river. And it would go in the river, and then from there it would go out to the, out to the sea.
Yeah, so this marina is directly across from Belle Isle, which is one of the most popular urban parks in America, actually. So it's an island. It's an American island. It's right in between America and Canada, but it's American property. And we have a couple of different options. Our most popular cruise is a 75-minute cruise, and we just do a loop around Belle Isle, and that's $275. So I think like the price point seems to be right for most of our customers. And then the second most popular is a 2-hour cruise, and we go downriver past the Ambassador Bridge to Canada, and we get a good look at the brand new bridge to Canada going up. It's called the Gordie Howe International Bridge. And then we turn around and come back. So that's a 2-hour cruise, and that's $200 or $450. $450.
It's kind of along the Detroit riverfront. So you kind of get to see like all the big buildings.
Yeah, you get all the city sights, and plus you also get some really grand views of these amazing bridges.
Huh. Is all that a no wake zone?
Yeah, well, the part near the island is. So it's just specifically on the American side. So you can zip up and down when you're on the Canadian side of the island. Yes, typically for speed, like we're just not going very quickly because as you know, with an electric boat, the faster you go, the more juice you burn. So since we're doing multiple cruises in a day, we're interested in preserving battery juice. And we found that our customers are perfectly happy with 8 to 10 miles an hour. Like they're not going water skiing. They don't care if we go 30 miles an hour, like at the top speed. Then we do show them what it's like, because the X-Shore has such amazing torque, and that's just really fun to hit, turn it up, and just show our customers what an electric boat is capable of.
So
Yeah, I love it.
I do think this is like over time, what we've found is that it's great to go up this like 20, 30 knots for 3 to 5 minutes. And then everybody gets the wind in their hair and they get the excitement of hanging on and bumping over the waves. And that's really cool. But then they really they're like, oh, do you mind slowing down? Because they really like the quiet. So they can chat and enjoy each other's company and a drink and some food.
So yeah, that's one of the things that we love about the electric boat is that it's just so beautifully built for entertaining. It's quiet, it's super quiet, so you can hear each other talk, you can listen to music. We have an Elex, and that's really terrific for entertaining because you can get up and move about, really comfortable. lots of different seating options. So people are there, we found, to enjoy the boat and also socialize.
Is it usually 4 or 6 people? How many usually take on a cruise?
Well, Anthony has a 6-pack, so it's up to
Nice.
6 people.
But
That's awesome.
typically, honestly, I would say a couple is our most common, wouldn't you?
Just doing
Yeah.
like a date night kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, anniversary, occasional
Anniversaries,
proposals,
birthdays. We did a proposal that was really cool.
She said yes.
Love that. Yeah, she said yes. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you? It was pretty. Allie does a great job of making the boat look amazing. There were flowers all over, and we got them a bottle of their favorite tequila, and Ellie does a really cool like high tea tray with chocolate dipped strawberries and
Yeah. So I think one of the big differences, I mean, aside from having the electric boat is very unique on the waters there. But we really pride ourselves on customer service and really paying attention to giving our guests the best time possible.
Yeah, that's huge. In terms of the speed, that it's hard to explain that to people when you're out there. And when we started our rental business, we bought a lot of the cocktail boats. And when you tell someone you're cruising out there at 5 to 6 miles an hour, you tell them ahead of time and they think it's going to be boring or like disappointing or whatever. And you get out there and it's almost therapeutic. You're just out there having a good time. You're not in a hurry to get back or to go anywhere really. And you're just out there to socialize and enjoy the environment. And I definitely get what you guys are saying with that because we find that all the time. We didn't get a complaint once that the guests were upset with the speed, other than one that went out right before a storm and we didn't want them to. But otherwise, they've never gotten any complaints about it when I thought we would.
yeah, people don't get seasick.
Yeah, actually, I gotta say that personally, that's one of the things that I really love about the electric boat is I've gotten sick on so many boats over the years. So yeah, I'm just prone to motion sickness. And then I found that I have never once gotten nauseous on our boat. So I think a big part of that sickness was the smell of the gas fumes or the diesel fumes. And it's just so overpowering and gross. If you're a little bit on edge, it just makes it so much worse. For people like me with motion sickness, the electric boat is a beautiful solution.
Another point on that with customers' experience. So we have our slippin next to us, really cool guy, got a cigarette bowl. And uh, our customers will be on our boat, maybe getting ready to launch or coming in or whatever, and he'll fire up his boat and take off, and there's the noise and the stink, and the look on their faces is like, oh, thank God. That could have been us, right?
Yeah.
If we hadn't chosen this boat.
Yeah, I mean, you can fly across Lake St. Clair in no time, but God, it's vile being next to it. So, yeah, when we're driving our boat, you wouldn't even know it's in motion except you were looking outside because it's so quiet.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's one of my favorite parts. We'll go to leave the dock, and I won't tell anybody when I turn the engine on, and we'll just start moving. And they just do one of these, and they're like, "Wait, is it on?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sorry, we're underway." And they just like it's a mini panic attack, and like you could see them just like trying to figure out what's happening right now. But it's pretty great to do to people. That and the acceleration of it. I don't usually surprise them with that though, because people can get hurt.
yeah, you need to pull out their hats during.
Yeah.
So do you guys ever on your cruises get anxious about the range of the boat at all?
Not really. No, I think we had one close call because there was the cruise before. We had 2 cruises, and the first one just they had very different expectations. They had hired us to actually um,
Run a couple out for an engagement photo shoot.
Yeah. And so they had plans that took us a lot longer than we anticipated. So we ended up the battery getting very low. And then we were like, oh God, we're going to have to take this next cruise really, really slow. And we're like, I hope they don't mind. And as it turns out, they were completely happy. They didn't want to go any faster. So I think we finished that day with like 7 or 8% of the battery left. And that's about as close as we got. I mean, we know the capabilities. We know the range is about 100 miles on a perfect day with perfect conditions. But we're on the Detroit River, which is a very swift current. So going down river is a breeze, but going upriver is a very different story. So we always have to be cognizant of that.
And so that was 2 cruises in one day, though. So like back to back.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, when
Yeah,
Wow.
that's no, we do 3 or 4 a day.
yeah. But I mean,
Wow.
if you go slow enough, you could, drive this boat all day, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because I always tell people that, and they're like, oh, you can only go, 20, 30 miles on plane. And I say, yeah, but if you're going low speed, you can go all day. But I don't mention it that much because it's kind of impractical. But you guys are doing it. You're getting 100 miles out of that battery at 5, 6 knots and going all day long, 8 to 10 hours a day at those speeds.
Yeah, pretty
That's
much, pretty much.
amazing.
I would say if range were not an issue, we would have gone to Lake Erie by now. It's a little bit out of the question unless we did an overnighter, and we'll do that at some point. But yeah, we're limited, I guess, to the Detroit metro area, and that's good because you turn left when you leave our marina, and Lake St. Clair is right there, and so you get a beautiful lake experience. Or you go in the river, you have the city experience. So we're very happy with what we can do with our boat, given its range limitations.
And also when we do move to Belize, our island is like, depending on which city you go to, maybe 8 to 10 miles from the
It's
nearest
perfect.
city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
As a workhorse, yeah.
yeah, and one thing, speaking of Belize, one thing that we really love about the ELX in particular is that it has two functions for us. It works like a van and like a pickup truck. So the max capacity is 10 people. So you can haul a pretty good crowd of people out to the island.
But honestly, I think the rules are a little looser in Belize.
Oh,
So, you know, that's according to the manufacturer's specifications. But we've talked to people who've had like 20 people on the boat before.
well, yeah,
So
I'm not gonna say anything to I know some people that have put that many people on the boat as well. Let's put it that way.
Well, the other thing I like about it, the ELX, is that it functions like a pickup truck. So it has this cafe booth style seating in the back, and you can just slide them off, and you have this really big storage area. So if we needed to, say, haul a new sofa or refrigerator out to the island, the boat's perfect for that. Because you really don't want to be hiring a barge every time you need to haul something out to the island, because that can get really expensive really quickly. And also the roof of the center console is load bearing, so you could put a kayak or a canoe up there or whatever you need. So it was for us and our needs, which are unusual. Um, the Elex was really perfect.
It's kind of crazy because we've used the boat in a very, I don't know, of quite a few different situations. And there was one time we volunteered with a litter cleanup and took off all the back benches and everything in the table, and it was almost like a work barge. And like the amount of space you had back there was pretty significant. And we just had people back there with like the long trash picker uppers. But the amount of space was pretty huge. And I never thought of like for your guys' application. I mean, that's going to be like priceless. The amount of the savings is going to be pretty huge from the hiring the amount of deliveries and stuff you would need. That's pretty
Absolutely,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. This isn't really a pleasure boat for us. It's very much a workhorse. It's our daily transportation. Um, and so the fuel savings for us, we're estimating it's going to save us 15, 20 grand a year in gas. And, that's going to add up. We paid more for the boat up front, but we really do expect in the long term, it's going to be cost savings.
And that's where a lot of people fall short. Like purchase price is one thing, but life cycle cost, especially for the extent that you're going to be using it, what does that look like at 5, 10 years? Your oil changes, your tune-ups, all that maintenance isn't really going to be there. But I kind of wanted to dive into that. In terms of maintenance, what have you guys done? I mean, what is it needed? And I want to hear the good, bad, and the ugly. Have you had a seawater pump fail or a strainer get clogged? I mean, what headaches have you dealt with?
Well, other than me being a bonehead, I would say none,
Wow.
really.
So, okay, well, this is now we're getting into the ugly. This was our first powerboat. Anthony did own a sailboat before, so this is it was my first time ever driving a powerboat. And was it your first time too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
think
there's
so.
definitely a learning curve there, and we may have banged up the propeller on some rocks in the river. So we had to get it repaired. Um, and what was that experience like? We actually nailed a pretty good mechanic. He really knew what he was doing, even though he never worked on an electric boat before, which, it was surprising.
Now he's the only officially certified mechanic for X-Shore in the Midwest.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Did
It's
you have to
funny
get
that
certified to work on your boat?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
no. We just nominated him for that position.
I love it. And in terms, so I don't want you to sugarcoat things because we're on a podcast, but other than that self-inflicted damage, like you haven't had anything else go wrong in the last year. I mean, you guys had to have been putting quite a bit of hours on it. It's, I guess you don't know the hours on the boat, but with the amount of times you've used it, it's probably a couple seasons worth of use compared to a regular consumer.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It'd be several seasons, I would say.
actually, we got a demo model from our marina, so there was some considerable use on our boat. I don't know how many miles. I don't remember that, but this was a used boat basically. And um, maintenance, it's just
Nothing,
it's
nothing.
fine. It works
That's
fine.
amazing.
Knock on wood, but
Yeah, don't jinx it.
right. I mean, so far so good.
We've heard, I think on your podcast, you had mentioned problems with overheating.
Yeah,
We,
that was on the. I mean, this was shoot almost 4 years ago now. They had an older version of the cooling system, but once it was really cool how they handled it, and it kind of reminded me of the early Tesla days. They recognized they had a problem, and they proactively upgraded it on other boats, which was awesome. And it was a costly retrofit. I mean, it was heat exchangers, seawater pumps, coolant pumps. It was thousands of dollars, but they knew it was a problem, and they proactively replaced it. But otherwise, it's funny. I just made a reel 2 days ago. I thought we had our first high voltage problem in terms of charging, but we've been doing this 3 years. We've had our hands on, I don't know, 3, 4 dozen boats, and we haven't had a high voltage problem yet. Everyone always, that's their biggest fear, and mainly because of the unknown. But we have a technician on staff who's like gets excited when we have problems. And a lot of times it's like user error or something that's self-inflicted or like a software bug that they fix remotely. But I feel like he works on like trailers and everything else more than our boats. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, so
oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I guess there is one issue we had, and it's not actually the boat. I don't think that was the problem. So with X-Shore, they sell this fancy Garmin watch, and
Yeah.
the Garmin watch is supposed to help control the boat. Not exactly sure how, but we found that when we turned on, we synced the watch with the boat, and so one of the main features of the watch is that it's supposed to have a man overboard feature. So it detects when the captain falls overboard. Maybe
I hate when that happens.
is this a common problem with boaters? I don't know. It must be, right? Designed a whole watch for it. But we found that every once in a while, the watch would randomly decide that the captain had gone overboard and shut down.
And if
It-
you and there's a lot of freighters that run up and down the Detroit River.
yeah, that could have
So
not gone well at all.
so that can be scary. That can be
Yeah.
scary.
It's like an accessory that caused more headache than it saved.
Yeah, that was just like a tech solution we didn't need or want. So we just unsynced the watch and put it in the attic. So and now everything's fine.
That was a tech solution that we didn't have a problem with. I'm pretty solid about staying on the boat while we're in motion. That's my habit.
But Exor really has been responsive. We made them aware, of course, of this problem, and they're working on it. So they really have been open to feedback from us.
Yeah, I've had quite a few conversations over the years, even all the way up the chain, chatting with Renee, and the feedback, they realize how new the industry is, how the American market's different than European market, and just feedback on everything. It's been great and responsive, and then to see them deploy that, whether it's in a software update or hardware changes. But I don't know, it's pretty cool. It reminds me of the early Tesla days when they would directly implement feedback because they're listening to their customers. And I guess it's a lot easier when you don't have, thousands or hundreds of thousands of them. But
Yeah.
it's one of the fun sides of this is really giving them feedback and seeing it get implemented and the boat getting better with a software update. That doesn't happen for regular boaters, or gas boaters anyway.
Right,
Really
right.
quick though, I wanted to chat about charging. You guys do a heck of a lot of use on this thing. Do you have a fast charger there? Just a 50 amp service? Like, did they upgrade the marina? I'm curious how that went.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There are no fast chargers anywhere.
That would be a dream come true, but that sure would be great because
And
then we'd be unstoppable.
so, so, Marina, I don't know what your experience is, but our experience is marinas love something like the extra, right? Because we're the sexy new technology. We're right. They like to brag. They like to brag. Oh, look, here's our electric boat. The owner of the marina comes by every now and then and chats with us. So they promised us a fast charger.
And I think they're going to do it. They seem like the kind of people, who put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's slow. We use 50 amps, just like, all the other electric stanchions. It's like I'd estimate 5 or 6% charge an hour. So we just plug it in at the end of the day. And by morning it's fine. I guess one thing I am concerned about is, like you said, we're going to be 100% off the grid down at Belize on our island. So we're going to have to build our own solar panel system with batteries. And I'll be interested to see how that goes with charging the boat and what kind of hiccups we might have with that. This is an adventure that could turn into a misadventure. We don't know.
I can help you with that. I know a lot of smart people that can solve those problems. But picture
Awesome.
a boathouse covered in solar, a pretty sizable battery bank, and I'm not saying it's going to be cheap. Like, it's doable. It's just not going to be cheap. And thankfully, battery prices are coming down. And maybe by 2027, when you're ready to deploy it, we'll have some cheaper batteries. But there's already some concepts that are built, or prototype stages, I guess you would say. But boathouse covered in solar, and then a massive battery bank, and they can scale that to size. And the Elex having a massive 126 kilowatt hour battery, add another 20% for efficiency losses. Like, you're going to need I don't know, 2,000 pounds worth of battery on there. It'll be pretty sizable, but that's also going to be, that could be your backup for your island. Actually, now that I say that, you're going to be completely off grid, so you're going to need a ton of battery capacity anyway. But it'll be a pretty fun project now that I'm talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is the beauty of this, right? It is basically another battery.
Yeah.
So we can, when it's sunny out, we can charge the boat and the house, and so we don't have to worry about maxing out the capacity on our batteries for the house. So
Yeah, and I'm curious, on terms of the DC fast charging at your marina, have they pursued conversations with Aqua Superpower or anybody in terms of getting some help with the charging installation?
No, they've expressed interest. So basically, this new marina owner is doing a complete overhaul of the entire marina. So this is just one project in a very, very big scope of projects.
So
Uh,
it's happening right now, or they're in due diligence, or like construction's going on? Where are they at?
they've been
oh
in
yeah,
construction since I think they started construction when we joined a year ago.
yeah,
So
Yeah,
you need to give them my number. I will put them in
yeah.
touch with the right people, and we can get you guys a DC fast charger. Um, Relatively cheap. We'll see how this goes, but I'm excited.
Yeah, we would be so excited.
We will make a note of that for after.
It's crazy you've been doing this much heavy use, like the highest use application you could ever do, a full discharge almost every day, and you've been doing it on a 50 amp service, not even, because there's tiers to DC fast chargers. I've got customers that have double the charging that you do, and they take their boat out 8 times a year. And it's amazing that you guys are doing all this on a 50 amp service that every marina has out there. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah. Coming up, you want to movement. So there's
Oh, yeah. So just talking about charging challenges, this is definitely a big challenge and an opportunity. So in Detroit, I don't know if either of you, if you guys are into electronic music at all, but Detroit basically invented it. And so we have this enormous music festival every Memorial Weekend called Movement. And there are probably 100,000 people who come to this festival. It's huge. And so we're techno heads, like any good Detroiter. And so we wanted to join in on the action. And during the festival, the parties never stop in this city. So the festival shuts down around midnight, but then there are parties going 24/7 throughout the city at every club.
so the cops look the other way, right? Every club in the city goes until dawn at least.
So we're going to do 72 continuous hours of electric boat cruises to celebrate movement. And so not technically 72 continuous hours because we will need to charge the boat at some point. But we're just sort of opening ourselves up to this really super fun cultural event here in Detroit and trying to carry it out into a brand new way on the water because I don't think anybody's doing movement parties on the water right now. So that'll be fun. Well, we might get towed. You know, this might be the ultimate test for our charging ability.
So there's a couple different, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but you could rent a DC fast charger for a month for like $2,000. To the point where it would be like a 50 kW DC fast charger. You could charge the boat in like 2 hours. You just need 3-phase power from a marina that has it. But that can be doable. But we need to have a conversation to, I don't know, it's a month away. My team's gonna hate me for helping you guys with this, but we might have to do it. Just to give you an idea, I've already segued down that avenue to we do so many boat rides at boat shows that I need DC fast charging at boat shows. So our upcoming show at DC, we're sponsoring it, and every VIP ticket holder is getting cruises up to see the Capitol and the monuments and everything. But in addition to that, we pre-schedule boat rides, dozens of boat rides, and then there's random foot traffic that we give boat rides to. So every single boat will get 10 to 12 boat rides per day, and we will deplete every single boat every single day. But we want to stretch it even further and do like cars and coffee meetups with some car clubs, and then do some like sunset cruises with whether VIP tickets or just, I don't know, different third-party groups that we're going to be bringing into the boat show. But so our charging needs are absurd, but we're going to have one, if not two, DC fast chargers at the DC boat show to in order to do that.
So fun.
I love that you can rent these. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I'll put you guys in touch.
That's really, it sounds like you are really doing it right, man. You are really.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Have you been doing that for a while, or?
No, this will be our biggest boat show yet. We did Annapolis super big last year. We brought 4 boats and we're swamped, literally open to close, nonstop rides. But charging becomes an issue. You know, if we're pulling 50 amps on every single boat, I say 50, it's 40 amps on every 50 amp circuit. We max out a lot of the loads on there. And a lot of these marinas and boat shows, you know, you tell them you need 50 amp service and they'll daisy chain you with other boats on a 50 amp service. And we have to emphasize, no, these are electric boats. Consume every bit of amperage out of that 50 amp circuit, and we charge at 40 amps on a 50 amp circuit, and so they're learning. But there's been times where I'm there at midnight, 1 a.m. with them at the first night and doing load calculations so they give us enough power. So it can be a pretty big headache.
I love it, man. I love this. I someday I hope to be as smart as you are.
It's painful. I'm not that smart. I probably wouldn't be doing this if I was. I'm just a glutton for punishment, man. I'm crazy and I'm a risk taker, and it's I don't know. I was chatting with somebody lately about leading edge versus bleeding edge, and I just wish there was more people doing this stuff because it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Whether it's the marketing or the boat show side of things. I mean, we get invited to the coolest events all around the world. And there's some of them where there's no fee for us to get there, but they want us to bring boats, and then we have to bring staff. And I mean, we're gonna go. We'll probably be at a few events around the country this year. And I mean, we got invited to go to Canada for some events, because there's nobody else doing electric boats, and there's most dealerships aren't incentivized to do it. There's not enough volume, and they make money off service and repairs. So there's not going to be any existing old brick and mortar locations that'll jump into this because it's kind of death by a thousand cuts. So it takes someone as crazy as I am and with a new business that doesn't have their overhead focused on repairs to jump into this side of things. So I don't know. I wish there were more of us doing this because the lift and the workload I think would be a lot easier.
Yeah, everybody should have an electric boat. It's just, the zero emissions game is just, it's why we're really in it, right?
And
I love
it's you
I
say
love
that,
your
but
joy. I love your joy for this, Eric. I love your joy for it.
yeah, I got addicted. Actually, back when I met Brooks, I was at BMW, and I ended up riding in a Tesla Roadster, and that the torque ruined me. And here I am. I was a BMW fanboy. Like I almost got the tattoo at one point, and I've owned 25 BMWs probably in my life. I used to flip them, restore them, and everything. And I rode in a Tesla Roadster, and it's like BMW's called themselves the ultimate driving machine and, pushing innovation and all this stuff. And I rode in that Roadster and I got back in my BMW and I just felt like it was an antique. And it's just like, they don't know what the hell's going to hit them. And this was back in 2011. And after that, I remember going back to my work and I was 21, 22 years old, making really good money at a BMW dealership. And I just lost all motivation. I took a 60% pay cut to go work for Tesla, and it was just a Hail Mary, just hoping and praying that it turned into something. And thankfully, it didn't go bankrupt because I got close a couple times.
Yeah.
You,
You
you,
know what? Yeah, you mentioned Tesla. I just learned the other day, I didn't know this, that they make boats. No?
No, it might have been an April Fool's thing.
There's
Was
a
it? Oh,
former a
God.
former employee from Tesla who started a boat company called Arc. Is that what you mean?
No, I read this actually. It was like it was a press release, and it was an interview with Elon Musk. There was an April Fool's joke, and there was a photo of it.
Has to be. Yeah, I
All
would.
right, I'm an idiot.
So there's been a
It's a really
handful of.
ugly boat. I was gonna trash talk it.
There's a lot of disinformation going around, especially around Elon and especially with all the new AI things coming up.
It's dangerous.
Wild. Okay. It looked
Uh,
like their truck, but on water. And it was
Definitely an April Fool's joke. So we actually put one out, and it's like, hey, here's our first, zero emissions boat. This is amazing. It's powered by the water, and it creates hydrogen and everything. And I had people reach out to me afterwards, like excited about it. And I'm like, guys, it's April 1st. Like, what are you doing, man? They were like, I saw it on your page, and somebody told me about it. It was so cool. I thought somebody cracked the code. I'm like, yeah, that and perpetual motion. We solved both of them. Just you need energy to make energy. It just doesn't work like that. But it was pretty entertaining. It sounds like someone got you also.
love your fun, man. I love this sense of fun. This is
Yeah,
fantastic.
you have to, man. And it's, I talked to, we were in a workshop the other day talking about culture, and I like my employees, we're a small team. We've got, I don't know, 6, 7 full-time employees and a handful of part-time employees. And like we enjoy working together. We hang out after hours together. When we go to boat shows, like it is a good time, and nobody there is getting paid market rate or above market rate. They don't have amazing benefits or anything. They're there for the passion. They're there like for the movement. And it is so freaking cool to see. And I just hope I make them all rich, 10 years from now when we sell out to some big private equity company and we've got 30 dealerships, worldwide.
So you guys mentioned that you haven't owned a powerboat before, just a sailboat, right?
Yeah,
right.
I've owned one or two sailboats. Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about this in the previous episode about, who the audience is for electric boats, and a lot of them are people like yourselves who either haven't owned before or have only owned sailboats. So as that person, let me ask you what specifically drove you to looking at and ultimately purchasing an electric boat.
So Allie talked about our need for it, right, in the long run. Um, I, I, I've sailed most of my life, and I feel like when you sail, it's about the journey. When you sail, it's about the slap of the waves on the hull and the wind whistling through the rigging, and just sort of enjoying being somewhere between being in the water and on land, right? But when you're in a power boat, it's because you have a destiny. It's about the destination because you're going to a place or you're doing a thing. And I feel like this electric boat is a great marriage because you get the experience of the journey, but you can also go to the destination or do the thing as long as it's not too far away.
But a lot of people don't realize a lot of that boating is local. I just went out on a boat today. We literally went out and cruised for 45 minutes, an hour maybe. We anchored out at the beach all day long, had the radio blaring, kids were swimming, playing on the beach, digging in the sand, whatever. And then we went back. And I had the biggest, heaviest, probably most inefficient boat there was. It's called an Ingenuity 23E, but this one's got like a big hardtop, a fridge, a sink, a grill, all this stuff. It's like a I don't know, probably 8,000 pound boat. And we did, I don't know, probably 12 miles in that thing up on planing speeds, but we made it all the way back. We ran the radio all day long, super loud, and we made it back with like 60% charge. But like that's a normal day for us, We're not deep sea fishing, we're not wakeboarding all day long. And when you have it in the right use cases and it's a social boat, it can really make sense for a lot of people. But I always relate it to electric cars, and people think they need 700 miles of range. And it's like, dude, you're not towing uphill, with a trailer in the mountains in freezing temps, uphill both ways. That's just not how it works every day. Like your average commuter is doing 37 miles a day. And that's why electric cars work for a lot of people as a daily commuter. But we've just been wired to think we need, more is better and bigger is better. And we've just become these good consumers of just buying more products. And I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent, but I don't know, it's rewiring people and making them aware that they don't really need, a 500-mile range on their gas boat when they're going to go 60 miles that day or 30 miles that day. People don't realize how little they actually commute. And that's kind of my fun part when we're at boat shows. I'll pull up a map and they'll say, oh, it won't work for us. I'm like, oh, what's your average day look like? And I always preface with figuring out what kind of boat they have. And it'll be like a 20 to 30 foot bow rider. And I'll pull up the chart and we'll like, hey, this is where your marina, where you start at. And this is the restaurant you go to. And this is the cove and the sandbar. And, I plot this out, this whole course. And it's like, oh, you do 18 miles. Like, that's not a lot. And sometimes you hang out at those places for hours at a time. And they're like, oh, I guess you're right, but it's just, you see that light bulb go off and they've never really planned it out. And, once you tell them that you can get rid of all of the maintenance and headaches and repairs related to the worst part of the boat, which is the gasoline engine, like that solves a lot of those headaches. We might have more boaters out there if it wasn't such a pain in the butt to keep these things running.
I do think in the long run that you won't even need that argument. If we can get some fast chargers, and we had a guy who rented our boat he's in the electric boat industry, and we have an Airbnb, and he was staying at our Airbnb, and he saw one of our flyers, and so he went on the boat, and his thing is he's working on work boats that they are going to use along the Erie Canal and Lake Erie. And so the first thing they're gonna do is put a row of fast chargers in so that the boats can go the whole length back and forth and charge when they need to. So as we see the growth of that, then it doesn't even become a limitation. right?
Yeah, yeah, that and energy density and everything getting more affordable with economies of scale. There's quite a few variables there, but no, DC fast charging is a huge component of that. It's interesting in terms of the consumables on your boat. Have you done like the zinc anodes at all? I guess you're on freshwater, like don't have any electrolysis issues nearby, and nice. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the sacrificial anodes that we tell people is like, hey, you might have to replace these depending on how often you keep it in the water. But we have some customers that keep them on boat lifts and never really need to do them. But it's awesome to hear your experience with the boat. I was talking with Brooks about this before, and I was going to ask about your experience. And it's like, well, we'll see. Like, you might say, oh, it's broken down this time, this time, this time, this time. And, it's nightmarish. But, like, here you are with, like, a super heavy use case. You might have the highest hour boat in America, like I would argue. I'd be really curious to see that. I'm gonna reach out to the Xshore guys and have them pull the data and see, because I would not be surprised. How many trips? Like, can you quantify like how many trips you've done? I guess you've only had it a little bit this season and last season.
Yeah. So we really are quite new to this, and we haven't even honestly paid for any advertising. We're on like half a dozen different boat rental platforms, so we're starting to get our name out. But most of our business was over the weekends. We'd have the odd cruise during the week, but real heavy on Thursday through Sunday.
We've probably done 40 some,
Nice. Oh, that's huge.
40 some. Um, yeah, wait until the 11th. We should, you know what? Let's do this again
This time next year.
in fall. Let's do this in the
Yeah.
fall. And then maybe I don't know, maybe we'll have some grape then. Who knows?
I love it. We just recently sent out a big survey to all of our customers, and it was to schedule to chat with me for a half an hour. And it's like, how do you like your boat? How much are you using it? What do your friends and neighbors think? Like, just like a full, just feedback, chatting with them about it. And some of them were asking them, because like I don't have visibility on usage or telematics, like the manufacturers do sometimes, but I don't. And so it's like, hey, are you using it? We haven't heard from you in a year. Is everything okay? And like, come to find out, it's like, oh yeah, we love it. Some of the best memories this summer. And, they send me some pictures and stuff. And like, it's awesome to see these people using it and that they're holding up really well. Cause like with a new product, you never really know, you're early adopters doing this stuff. And you guys are going to be pushing the limits in terms of consumption and usage. I mean, I'm pretty excited to follow along with you guys. I'm super glad I found you randomly on, I think, Facebook. I reached out to you guys.
Fantastic.
I love that you're reaching out to your customers that way, because we found, as basically first-time boat owners that the marina you choose to buy from and work with is really important. So that's definitely had an impact on a positive impact on our experience. So it's great that you're being so proactive with your customers and figuring out what's working, what's not working.
Yeah.
We had never really driven a powerboat before, right? Like, and I imagine that might not be uncommon among your.
Half of our buyers never have. It's whether they're first time powerboat owners because they were sailors, or they're just first time powerboat owners in general. And there's times someone will reach out and, hey, I want to buy a boat, and it's like, hey, let's start with some lessons. Like, I don't want you to wreck this thing. There's some learning curve here. As much as I want to sell you a boat tomorrow, like you need to get some lessons under your belt and really get to know rules of the road, safety, everything. There's a lot to it.
And
Yeah.
so the and I assume you do this, but our marina like took us out a couple of times.
Was that Elk Rapids? I mean, where'd you guys get the boat?
Yeah.
Oh,
They
Lewis and his team up there is awesome. I chat with him probably every few weeks. What's working, what's not working, the industry and everything. But they I say there's not enough of us out there doing it, but he's one of like 4 in the country, like really like pushing the needle with this stuff. It's awesome that he's up there.
Great. Cool.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Eric, do you have any other questions you want to ask before I wrap it up?
I don't. I'm super excited to chat with you guys offline about DC fast charging and eventually your boathouse solar project in Belize. I can't wait to come visit and help commission the thing. But no, thank you guys for being on. I appreciate your time and super excited to follow along.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you. This has been a real
So, do you guys have any sites or social accounts you want to plug where our audience can follow you?
Sure. We have a website, sycoraxcruises.com. We're also on Instagram and, as you mentioned, Facebook. So if you just Google Sycorax, you're going to find us.
Can you spell that?
Do you want to
Yeah, Sycorax. It's the name of a really nasty sea witch from The Tempest. We thought was perfect for our witchy electric vessels. That's spelled Sycorax.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, you guys have been listening to the Electrified Marina podcast brought to you by Electrified Marina and electrifiedmarina.com. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please share it with your friends. Please leave comments, questions, feedback, or potential guests in the comment section on YouTube, and that will help us to reach more people and spread our message. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun.